How's it going, everybody? My name is Dushawn Williams, and welcome to Gaming Over 30. I'm here with Chris Makata, and as you see here, we got two more people to kind of join our crew. Yes, Gaming Over 30 has expanded 2x. We're bringing in two more people to kind of help us talk about some more gaming content and kind of bring some more to our podcast. Everybody, welcome X and Cameron.
Thank you.
All right. All right. And so how we kind of start the podcast, gentlemen, we're going to have to now give you questions instead of now me asking X and stuff like that, or Chris in this case. I'll have to now just pass it off to y'all because now everybody got to know, what is gaming for y'all too?
X, I'll let you go.
At this age, gaming to me has changed, I guess, over the couple.
Oh,
I'm gone. That's it. You just dropped me out.
Damn, the gaming changed it for you that much?
it changed. My man kicked you out.
My hands are right here.
You were about to say some truths, and the world said, "Nah, we can't have it again."
That's what I figured.
Go ahead.
No, it's just it's changed up, man. Gaming used to be about, for me at least, socializing and playing with friends. But now for me it's a way to escape what I do every day and just find my own time. And I'm still playing with people, whether it be WoW or other people, but it's an escape from everything else. It used to be an escape, and now it's more a solo escape to go somewhere else.
Yeah, gotcha. You're actually the oldest one here, right? Like,
Yeah.
Milf, me, and Chris and stuff like that. So, I don't want to. I can't ask you too many questions just yet because I need cameras, so I could ask y'all a better question next. So, Farman, go ahead. He took the initiative. What's up?
Well, I mean, being of the younger generation, but not too young, still millennial. Gaming is honestly just a nice escape from having to deal with going to work every day, and dealing with all different types of people. It's a nice way to just come home and relax, as well as socialize with a lot of my friends, just because all of them are gaming. And so it's a really easy way to kind of communicate with others whenever you might live over good distance. You don't get to see everybody in real life all that often, so it's a good way to keep in contact with people and hang out.
Cool. So both of y'all are technically still gaming, right? Because I know you, Cameron, you're the youngest, but you're like the youngest by 9 years? You're younger than me, Chris?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
You sure you're millennial?
Late 20s. Yeah.
Late 20s. Okay.
I'm still a 90s baby. Don't even.
Nah, I'm not used to it, man. I'm not used to it. So that's kind of the reason why, it's good to have people on the team who are definitely vastly different from both me and Chris, because me and Chris are very similar in age, even though our backgrounds are very different. But it's nice to have people who are just, also generation different a little bit. You're not that far off, X, so you're still good. You haven't hit 40 yet.
Yet.
And that's all that matters. That's all that matters. But no, I appreciate y'all, gentlemen, joining the team, coming on and talk about some more game stuff, and hopefully we get to kind of go more into it and stuff like that. But Chris, I think you had a question that you want to add. Do you want to go ahead?
Yeah. I'm gonna start it off with who or what got you into gaming, because it's one of those things where when it comes to video games and stuff like that, like there kind of used to be a very, very niche thing growing up. I know for sure X would understand that. Dushawn and I understand how it was still very niche thing. It was still, I'm pretty sure on X's time, you still had the whole time of like the arcade being the thing, switching over to the NES. And then when the NES kicked in, it kind of just revolutionized how gaming was. The reason why I was brought into gaming was my brother-in-law brought over a Nintendo when I was super young, and he's like, here, play this. And I was like, what is this? It's like, this is Metroid. And as a kid at that age, I should not have been playing Metroid, but I did, and it destroyed what I think about as games today. But I'll kick it off to Cameron this time. Like, who or what got you into gaming?
Actually, it was my dad. And then nowadays, I wonder why, because he is nowhere near a gamer at all. Like, anything, and he's like, oh, there. But whenever I was growing up, I wanted it was around the time that the first Xbox like released. A little bit beforehand, I had the GameCube and everything, but I wanted the Xbox so much, but my dad didn't want me to just go immediately into mature rated games and do all that stuff. He wanted me to be able to appreciate games, and so he started me off on stuff like Galaga and Metro,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Dig Dug, like even, dude, man, I love those games even still today. But yeah, one of my biggest games and still one of my favorites. Oh, I heard something cut off there. We still good?
Yeah,
Yeah, you're good.
we just made it.
Okay. Oh, okay. But man, you made me lose my train of thought there. No, but one of my biggest games of all time that is still a favorite of mine today is Legend of Zelda. That was kind of like one of my first big games, and he got me the collector's edition, so I played through Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, the very first one, and then I can never remember what it's called, but it was the first 2D, like, just dungeon crawl, just go right to left. And I enjoyed that quite a bit, so very thankful to that, and it's a real good time. X, I'll throw it over to you.
Is that a Link to the Past? I don't remember.
Oh, man, I can't remember. It's been so long at this point.
Link to the Past was the Super Nintendo one, right?
It was one, yeah.
I'm trying to remember because it's on the classic. Classic NES or classic Super Nintendo. It's like 90s, 80s. Who got me into gaming is kind of hard to tell because I remember, I think the first time I remember seeing an Atari, it was a kid across the street had it. And I went over to his house and yeah, I was like, yeah, I'm here to play with him. And that. And I kind of, and the mom knew what I was up to. She's like, "Oh, you're here for the Atari?" Yeah, and him, yeah, sure, him too. But the Atari, yes, I'm here for the. So that's what got me into it, and essentially, I was playing at the arcades for a while, and then Nintendo came out, and that was my mother's way of keeping me in the house and out of trouble. Around the neighborhood and around from the other kids was getting me a Nintendo and whatever game I wanted at the time. So that's, having that kid, whoever he was, I hope he's doing okay. And I guess inadvertently my mother got me into it. Just that she said, like, I'll buy you whatever game. You just sit there, play your games. Don't go outside and play with those other kids. Sit there and look, Mario jumps, go play that. It's that's who and what got me into gaming.
All right. I'm trying to remember. I think we did talk about this before, Chris, but I think my answer was I wasn't really sure what kind of got me into gaming. I know for sure that I got to get my start into it around the Nintendo because I had some friends and family that actually had the Nintendo and then the Sega as well. I know my first console was Super NES. That's where a lot of my Blockbuster years really came from, was getting all the kind of games from them, to kind of that, never really owning anything, just like, I'll just go rent a game for like five days and 5 nights or whatever, and get all the kind of gaming that I can from there with some that I bought. I think my biggest console I know was like Nintendo 64 when Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time really kind of came out. I think that's where it's like I was definitely doing a lot more like personal gaming outside of like PlayStation era. PlayStation era was all personal gaming, but that was one of those things that I think, yeah, but I don't know who actually like introduced it to me. For me, I felt like it was just kind of like just common. Like I guess I was just around people that had it. I forgot. I think that's what I answered the last time too, but
That's something that happens to everyone when you start getting older. You kind of forget your younger years and who did what and what did where, and they kind of start to mold together.
Yeah, I can't, man.
Yeah, I remember the motivations. I just can't remember
What about you, Chris?
Well, for me, it was my brother-in-law. Like my sister was dating him at the time, and he was on a house arrest for going out and tagging out schools and stuff like that. And so she went over, and she lived down the street from my parents' house. And my sister's like, "Oh, you want to go over?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll go with you." Well, it's more like, "Oh, you're like older sister's going. You gotta take your little brother with you." So I had to go with him. And so they're like, "Oh, what do you want to do?" And I was like, "I don't know." I was like, "How do we do with this kid?" And my brother-in-law was like, "Oh, hey, I have NES right here. You could go ahead and play that and have at it." And I was like, "Sweet." And of course, it was Metroid that was in the cartridge, which was weird because you would think it would have been like Mario or something like that. That way you could, you know what I mean? Like start off with something easy, but he just went straight Metroid. And I don't know what it was with that game, but it stuck in me. I played it. I figured it out on my own. Way too young. I mean, I didn't beat it at first, but after that, like they kept dating for a while, and then he would come over to my parents' house and stuff, and then he'd bring the NES, and he just ended up leaving it there. And so I would always just start playing freaking Metroid over and over again. And then he would play this game called Life Force with me together, and it was just like the side-scrolling little shooter, and you just try to go through it, blow up things, get all the upgrades and stuff like that. But the whole premise of that game was kind of weird because like it's kind of like a human body that you'd go through in some sense. And so like as a little kid, I was just like, what? Like, that's a brain I'm fighting, and now it has hands, and I'm just gotta destroy it and shoot the missiles at it. Let's go. And then that was my first introduction to the Konami code, because it was a Konami game. So like you start and you're like, okay, I got 3 lives, and then my brother's like, watch this, and all of a sudden we start with like 32 lives, and I'm like, what? How is this possible? And he held on to that secret for probably like a year or 2 years before he finally told me how to do it.
Cheat codes back in the day, man, that's something that's definitely has changed over the years. Like we used to that used to be like a big part, Game Shark and all that. And
Oh yeah.
I'd like to do like the particular things, and now it's like I not like that's not even like part of the culture now.
You got to go
That
back to the
up, up,
magazine.
down, left, right, ABA.
So you got to go to the magazines of the day, Tips and Tricks and Nintendo Power and
Yeah.
magazines from back in the day.
I still remember how to get like Carnage and like Marvelous Capcom was like left, down, right, down, left, up, right, right. Like it was like, like the one that I remember. Like
so
the
long to remember.
dude. Well, because like back in El Paso, Fort Bliss or whatever, there's like a rec center that they had over there, and Marvel versus Capcom was one of the arcade games that they had. Don't know how they got it, but it's like that was the one that everybody played, and because it's the rec center, no one had to pay to play it, so
Yep.
it was just like ongoing, like kind of playing this stuff. And so like that's when I remember like going home and like trying to figure out like how to, because they had like a lot of the different characters and stuff. Oh, that was Roll, not Carnage. There we go. See, I'm already forgetting which character it was for, because it was just like, oh, because like you only had so much time to do it, so like that was only one that was like to kind of get it. And then if you mess up one time, like no, that's not, do it again. Oh no, now you can't automatic select. So it's like that was like the only time. But I remember like that was probably like the biggest time that I was searching for that kind of stuff.
But that's where you guys started off, right? Like Nintendo, Super Nintendo. That's it. That era of consoles.
I'll say definitely
In
like
60 N64 for me, because I am a little younger, but
like I just don't know a lot of people that I associated with that had the Atari or kind of like anything. Like I knew of its existence, but I just didn't like own anything from that time. So like basically like Nintendo was like the only time that I really got into gaming. Then it was like the Game Boy, which is like where I spend the most of the game, especially for like Pokemon, because that's definitely like something that
Oh yeah.
when Red and Blue came out, and like we were all in elementary and stuff like that. That was like just the biggest thing. Even the toys were big around that time, and you were trading the toys with other people. Like, yo, I got this. Yes, man. Like, you know, this is just like one of those things. It was like it's
That's a whole revolution, because you had the games, and then you had the card games that everyone got into, then the toys, and then you had freaking all the freaking show come out too. And so like Pokemon was just one of those revolutionary things that kind of changed the whole world and stuff like that in a way.
Yeah.
it really did. It really
that
I remember my next door neighbor was the one that actually got me into Pokemon. I would always go over to her house because she had an N64 and I hadn't gotten it yet. So I was like, I'm going over to her house. I'm gonna go game.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Have you not seen Pokemon? You don't know what this is?" And like started watching, and never stopped her.
see that's the difference between, like, you guys saw it in a video game. We saw it. The way I was introduced to Pokemon was in high school because we were playing Magic. And after we
Nice.
started playing Magic for a while, some of the guys that we used to play Magic with started playing Pokemon. And they would try to bring their cards around and be like, "Oh, you guys want to get into this?" I'm like, "No, we're serious gamers. We play Magic." Like we didn't.
We're real nerds. So
People are still like that today too with Magic. It's like, no, we're real gamers.
People do not. People do not
Like-
budge off Magic.
Nope.
So that was that was my introduction to Pokemon. Is not cartoons, not the games, but seeing the cards that one of the guys that we used to play Magic with bring him around, and I was like, Pokemon, all right, cool, man. Oh, we're gonna go play over here now. You stay over there. So, but now the same guys are playing Pokemon too. So even years later, so
I can see you're like Pokemon. Ooh, gross.
oh man, we also it was a hard roll in for Pokemon for Magic because you spend all the money on the cards. It's not like it's before going to eBay and it was slowly coming out. You could buy the individual cards, but it's going to cost you money, and it's not as simple as it was today. You had a PayPal account. You had to hope they got you on eBay. You have to hope that they don't print out cards and try to make their own. Like, it was a whole thing.
You got it.
for-
You just peeled it off the front. You're like, awesome.
Yeah, like I
Or put it in the sun.
yesterday. Yeah, look, you printed it out. I paid $5 for this card. You out of your mind? Like,
eBay was a terrible drug for card games because it's like I guess that's how I even started using eBay in the first place because it was like Yu-Gi-Oh cards back in the day. That's all like, oh, they're just some particular ones, and to me, like $25, like, man, $25 is a lot. Like, how am I even going to get that cash? But it's just like the fact that it's all like I look at my account, it's like, oh, this is where I got all my rep stuff from. Buying all the stuff back in the day. It's like, Jesus Christ. But now I'm glad it's a lot safer now. But like back then, like,
yeah,
there's still one purchase I didn't get that I paid for, and it's like tough.
yeah. It's
Honor system.
and that's the thing, man. Seeing the change from then to now, like the age of the internet, just seeing how for gaming, anyways, how all that changed.
Oh yeah.
It's a lot more easier. It's a lot easier of use to be able to do all those things and safe.
Especially for like PC gaming, if you think about it, because PC game was such a niche thing in the 90s where like you had to have a PC, and if it was able to play games, like you had to have the right people to connect to try and play like StarCraft and stuff like that together. Because if not, like for the most part, I would just play by myself for most of those games. I think one time I connected to the internet to try to play StarCraft, and I was like, I have no idea what's going on. I'm probably too young to be doing this. I'm gonna just sign off because I just got my butt whooped.
You know what, Chris? You actually kind of remind me of what was the thing that I think like probably got me into video games, and that was actually PC gaming. Because I'm not sure if y'all even saw these titles like Math Blaster, Reading Rabbit, and like
Oh yeah.
older
Oh,
titles
yeah.
and stuff. Yeah, that I played that stuff religiously when I was a kid because it was like one of the only things I had on the computer. And then I went from that to StarCraft, and because like at that same rec center, like they had all the computers, and we were, no matter how many times they uninstalled it, we keep reinstalling StarCraft on each one of them to have that LAN party. He's like, you got 16 computers, hell yeah, we go and play. Like eight on 8 or whatever. Like it was just like that was one of the things that, God, I remember doing that a lot. I kind of miss those days a little bit.
That's what we did in high school. The first magnet school that we had over at my old high school, it was for computer programming and graphics design and all that thing. And we were all geeks and nerds anyways. So we took it was Mac computers. We took all those big Mac funky colored computers, and we just landed them all together and played StarCraft with everybody in that room. So we were nerds. Yeah, we were pretty geek.
No, you were IT specialist in training. That's what you were.
Yeah,
Hey, that's probably
I didn't like that much. But yeah, like even before that, computer games. You're right, Commodore 64. That's one of the first games I remember that we owned a Commodore 64 computer. So my pops bought a game somewhere. It was called Joe's Fast Lane, and the whole point of the game is try to motivate you to go to college. That's to me that was the whole point of the game, because you could I played it with my sister, so you could play two people. You could play a career, fast food and everything, or you could work that extra mile and go to college and then you'd end up in a suit and everything else. And that was the gist of the game. Who earns more money by the end of it? Picking the right thing. So yeah, that was probably one of my first games, was the Commodore 64 Joe's Fast Lane.
I used to we had a computer lab in my elementary school, and they had like the OG like Dinosaur Tycoon and stuff like that. And I was so good at it that I would always get to the end, which was always getting the T-Rex to be a part of your park. And then the T-Rex would always break out. Like there was no way to ever keep it captured in. And so the game would just end at the end, like, oh, you lose. And I'd be like, no, I got to beat this game. And so I would try to figure out how to beat this game, how to do this, you know what I mean, stuff like that. And it would just end that way. And it wasn't until years later I found out, it's like, yeah, you just can't control the T-Rex in the game. So every time you got one, you just lose.
Early life lessons from PC games. That's Dead Souls in the early days. That's what that is.
All right. Let's see. Cameron, you had a question, right?
Yeah. So I was curious, as far as I game quite a bit, but I know that you gentlemen, being a little bit older, you got kids, you got, girlfriends or wives, that you got to take care of. So whenever you have time for gaming, currently, what are you playing? And why was that kind of your go-to game right now? Did you just see it all kind of blowing up, or is it an older game that you just went back to?
I think for me, I just wanted to just do it. I finished Final Fantasy 16 between Anime Expo and Comic Con, and I was like, oh, let me pause, because I was like, I really kind of went pretty hard on the game. Just like, let me go finish it, maybe get through it and stuff like that. Because I actually, for work, we were looking at the games coming out, and I just kind of realized my backlog is about to get pretty big coming this fall season. I mean, I think this month alone, Armored Core 6 comes out.
Yeah.
That's already gonna be one thing that I'm I have to customize myself to play and everything. And then next month, oh god,
Starfield.
First week.
Yep.
I think Spider-Man is pushed to October, but
It is
Spider-Man, Assassin's Creed, I think October, November. They're just there's a few games that are be coming out that are they're not short games. They're all gonna be pretty long. So at the moment, I'm looking at games because of work, especially on Xbox Game Pass, to kind of see what some of the stuff that's kind of playing on there. But I'm kind of waiting now for Armored Core. Oh, Mortal Kombat 1.
Yeah.
So I can't wait after everything from Evo. I can't wait to play some of the characters now. That's some of that stuff is happening. So right now I'm in that hiatus mode again to prepare myself for the next game. And you just, after a while, you have to do it. It's because I got a lot of games I really want to pull out of the shelf, but it's no, I'm not sure when I'm going to finish it. Got a lot of other kind of work stuff right now. I don't want to pick up a game and then kill it, right? Because it's all no, you got to go away. It's time for Armor.
I'm in the opposite boat where I think whatever it is, if it's ADHD or something like that, where I start a game and half the time I just don't finish it, and I'm like, all right, I guess I played 10 hours of it. I guess that's good enough for everyone else and myself. Let's move on to something else. And then my biggest issue is I like to play a bunch of the small indie games, and so I try my best to stay on Game Pass so I don't waste my money over and over again and just keep adding more backlog to my Steam account, because that thing just keeps getting bigger and bigger with every Humble Bundle, every freaking email I get of oh, this thing on your wish list is on sale. Oh, I should buy it. That's a really good price. And I have to go, no, Chris, stop yourself. You do not need to buy this even though it's on sale for $10.
I gotta keep myself away from Humble Bumble, so I get you.
Straight up, I'm actually trying to find more Steam games to buy so I can play them on the Steam Deck. I'm trying.
See, that's what I need.
a
I
lot
need
more
a Steam
stuff
Deck
to
at this
Steam.
point.
And then I kind of got mad because like I got the Steam Deck right, but then it's like the Asus
The Ally?
Ally is like actually works out so good. And I'm like, shit, I need that too because like all the Game Pass stuff too is like you don't want to like you have cloud gaming or whatever, but you don't want to be stuck to the computer to do it. So I'm like, man, now I need another handheld to play. Like I need Steam to just go ahead and allow me to play Game Pass on there too, so I can just have that because it's a really nice device. I got to play some fighting games and stuff on it too, and I was like, oh, that's not bad. Like fingers hurt after a while, but it's like, oh, that for like low impact gaming and stuff like that, it actually was really nice. So like now I'm trying to find more stuff to put on this device. So it's like, oh, I need to put more stuff that I know is like maybe even like a longer RPGs or whatever that I haven't got around to. It's like, oh, $20. Let me go ahead and throw it on there and try it.
All those JRPGs that you haven't played, just get them on a discount on Steam and play them on your freaking Steam Deck. That's like that'll be your lifesaver there.
Honestly, I'd probably do it for all the trial games because I need all that just to be concise into one platform. But it's like, oh, well, I have the Nintendo Switch, so like if I could just at least put it on there, that's probably what I'll just do because that makes more sense. If anything, I probably want to update the Nintendo Switch because it's like, oh, I kind of missed like the OLED like screen or whatever on it because it actually looks pretty nice. But now that I heard there might be a second one coming out, I'm like, well, no, I got a hold, gotta wait. And it's like,
Yeah.
if I get if I get a
You
new
put
one,
yourself in that trap.
yeah, it's like if I get a new one, then they're all like, look at this shiny one. I'm already looking at the PlayStation one. Like now, like I can play all the PlayStation games I know are just hiding in the back of PlayStation now. It's like, hey, come on, you can do it. We can do it now.
But I know my current game is going to be Diablo 4 because I'm still trying to get caught up so I can get into season 1. And then it's the other game is Arcade Paradise, which I've taken the storm of like this whole household over here for everybody playing that game, from my son to my other 2 roommates, to the point where my roommate will be playing it, and then the guy who owns the house will go upstairs to his room, grab a big bag of like popcorn and stuff, and they'll take turns playing every day together. Because all you're doing is just running a laundromat, and then in the background you're actually running an arcade, so your dad doesn't find out. And then you find out the arcade is making more money, and you're trying to convince the dad like, hey, let me do this arcade because this laundromat thing ain't working out. And that's all you're doing in the game. Like, it's so dumb, easy. It has some great synthwave freaking songs. Like, my roommate bought a jukebox for it, and he opened up all the songs, and like I'll be here with my girlfriend hanging out, like eating like dinner and stuff like that, watching some of the TV, and you just hear like a sweet jam. My girl's like, yo, who's that band? And I'm like, it's a video game. She's like, what? I'm like, yep, they got some good jams on there.
That reminds me of High Five Rush, when you just have High Five Rush just like play because of the soundtracks on.
Yeah.
Like you just have it like just play in the background, and you just now hear it. Okay. What about you, X?
Right. Mostly I've been playing WoW, but my hours are going to finish up to tomorrow, actually. So the games I've been sticking to is like Gotham Knights. I think it was on sale, so I got it. And any game where I can, when my king's here, my little man, when I have him, anything I can pause works. Because
Yeah.
if you know, you can't play WoW, you can't play League, you can't play anything that involves other people because I can't, pause the game, especially since I'm playing with random people and be like, hey, my man's crying, I gotta go take care of this. But I can pause the games on the PlayStation, or I can just come back to it. I'm not tying other people down. Then if I can pause it and go hang out with him and take care of him first, then yeah, that's what I'm playing. So right now I'm sticking to Gotham Knights for right now. I still got to go.
How you liking it?
How am I liking Gotham Knights?
Yeah.
I'm playing as Red Hood, which
Good
to
choice.
me, it's with Red Hood. I sampled everybody else because you can gear them up and then do these like dungeon type deals with it. But with Red Hood, it's just go in there, shoot, grab somebody, toss them back, blow the bomb off of him, have it turn into 5 other bombs. It's really cheap. It's really easy and cheap. And when it like I said, when it's time matters a lot to me, especially with my king. So when I got those 5 or 10 minutes where I can focus on that for a couple minutes while a man's playing on his tablet or something, or before we go out, I'm going to take it, and I'm going to take it to be as destructive as possible with Red Hood. As far as I know,
Nice.
the other guys don't got bombs attaching to people. So, yeah, most of my time has been playing Red Hood. And I still got to go back and finish Cyberpunk's second playthrough, finish Horizon Zero Dawn, Forbidden West, and the expansion that just came out. Like,
I gotta play that too. That's something I need to download.
yeah, so like it's the games are there, but I just, with my man around, I need to be able to play stuff where I can just pause it and, or have him sit down. He sits with me and watches me play Gotham Knights, and I'm looking at him like, don't get any ideas.
Yeah.
You cannot beat up people like that. Don't even think about it. But yeah, man, that's what I'm sticking to, is usually games like that with a pause menu. I'll take it.
Hey,
Any
it's
games.
not a bad game to be playing, honestly. I know, like right now, I know right now I'm playing Baldur's Gate like crazy, and I can't stop to the point where I'm literally sleep depriving myself for work and everything.
Heck yeah.
It's just such a phenomenal game. But my big go-to recently has been DayZ. Just with all my friends on Discord, we've got about 8 or 9 of us that'll hop on a server and just run around, loot up, go take on some fights, and survive the zombie apocalypse together.
That game's been out for a long while, hasn't it?
It has been
Yeah.
out for a long while, and to be honest, the amount of change in that game is kind of unbelievable, because I remember playing it. I bought the game probably about, I want to say it was like 3 or 4 years ago, like playing probably back in 2019, and dude, that game was just so unbelievably awful. I mean, there wasn't a way for me to understand any of the maps. Like, my buddies would tell me, open up a map here so that way you can see what you're doing, because it's not in game, and just try to make your way towards me. And I'm like, dude, everything's in Cyrillic. I don't know how to read this. I don't know what you want me to do here. And like, if you can get to the first house you saw, and that house just so happened to have a can of food for you to eat, you were dead. But now it's like you can actually go around and play the game pretty successfully, until somebody just pops out of nowhere and pops you in the head, and then you got to start over.
Yeah, because that's what I remember from that game, that it was catching so much flack, and it was that bad. But people eventually, it was a turnaround for that game.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, nobody wants to play something whenever they work so hard for a couple hours and then lose everything.
So does Boulder Gates 3 live up to its hype right now? Because it's definitely something that I keep seeing a lot of YouTube videos kind of pop up on and stuff like that. But I see like the main contention point, that people not really saying that is good. It's just saying like, hey, we're not going to sell you stuff. Like, don't worry, we got you. Like, you bought the game, it is yours now. Like,
Yeah.
that's so far as this been the most consistent thing I've been seeing. But I'm like, well, how does the game play? I don't even know what. I know like it has something to do with D&D, but I don't even know what the style of play it is.
Yeah. So to be honest, as far as the style of playing, it's a turn-based game. And so it's basically, you have one character. They may have a higher initiative, so they might get to go first, hopefully.
Mhm.
But then you have all of your enemies, so you go, and then hopefully the rest of your party goes first. And then all of the enemies will go one by one until it gets back around to you. And they can move around the map and stuff like that. And because you have a certain distance you can walk, you might not be able to hit them that turn. So that's kind of how the gameplay works. But as far as it holding up and what all they've been saying about, like, there's no DLC and stuff like that, like, to be honest, it doesn't need it. And that's kind of a crazy thought for a lot of games nowadays. Like, they pull out DLCs basically to take our money and not have like as much as possible and not come out with a fully finished game. Whereas Larian Studios pulls out Baldur's Gate and just goes, here is this masterpiece that we've been working on, and we want you to literally go out and do whatever you want, because you quite literally can. You can walk out and in the first 5 seconds of the game, you're given an option, and if you choose the wrong option, you die and the game's over. It's that it's that fast. And now I had somebody recently, a video that I watched, say that there's no consequences to the game because you can save. Now, the way that I think about it is I don't do that. I just kind of go through it and see what happens, and hopefully I don't die for making the wrong choice. But some people have been playing it that way. But the music, even in the game, is just phenomenal. Like, it's got great scores. The combat's pretty good. I like it. I enjoy it. It's not bad. And I've never played a turn-based game in my life or anything of the sort. So it's very different. But the story and the music and everything like that is just absolutely phenomenal. And it keeps me so entertained. And there's just so many little things I can do that my ADD brain is just like, ooh, shiny. Let's go find out what that is. And turns out it's a shiny little rock that's sitting in front of a cave that you can go into and find all of these things. And you're just like, okay, that's a lot.
Yeah, I guess, like I said, like when it came out of nowhere, I was just like, oh, like everybody's really giving this game some praise. But it's just one of those things where it's just like, okay, well, I mean, I'm glad you don't have to buy cosmetics. Like, it's definitely a difference from the Diablo 4 right now. But I guess it's interesting because it's like I didn't even know about the game even coming out, to be quite honest. Like, outside of the one trailer that everybody lost their mind for, like 2 months ago or something like that. Outside of that, I was just like, okay, that's cool. And I thought it was just going to be kind of like a cheap game, and now everybody's like, no, it's all like it's 800 people concurrently playing in the first 24 hours, 800,000. Yeah, 600,000. Like after that, concurrently playing, just like, cool. Well, it's not a multiplayer game.
It is, actually. You can't do multiplayer. The only downside is currently there is no way to have a character leave your party that joins through multiplayer. So there's companions in the game that you can get that'll join you, and for some of it you need them. But if you have a full party, then there's nothing you can do, and that save file is basically like you're not able to do anything other than if all of your friends join at the exact same time, then you can continue the story.
Gotcha.
Most people will have a multiplayer game for their friend group, and then they'll have their single player off to the side.
So true D&D at this point.
Yeah, that's the first thing that came to mind. Is like, oh, actual Dungeons and Dragons. Hey, we missed one friend. He kind of come. I guess is off tonight.
Playing tonight.
I saw the videos and the cinematics for it, and it looked amazing. And then the Druid thing, yeah, I started seeing all the stories about that. And then they were going to put Baldur's Gate against Starfield, so I noticed all that. I didn't see any gameplay until I saw you playing it, Chris. Like that, Cameron. That's the first time I saw any gameplay of it at all. And when I saw it, I was like, oh, okay, this reminds me of Divinity. And I come to find out that it's the same people that made Divinity as well.
Divinity. Yep.
So I was like, oh, it looks cool. And then it reminded me of Wasteland. And then going further back, it reminds me of Fallout. Like the original Fallout.
Fallout 1 and 2. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like ones everyone forgets about because they're not at 3 and New Vegas and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those were fun because it was the same thing. You could, like Wasteland and all those. You could go do whatever. Like I was telling Cam the funnest part of those original Fallout was reading the flavor text. I saw one flavor text that was like, you have a growth on your foot. If you wait a little while, the growth is getting bigger on your foot. It's grown into a bump. Now you have an extra toe. Like that just shows up after you're playing the game, and you're like, why does that? Seriously, that happened? How do I get rid of it? Is it radiation? Where do I go? But that's it. There's nothing added to it. It's just the bump grew into an extra toe, and now you got an extra toe on your character. You don't see it. It doesn't show up as a cosmetic or anything. It's just there it is. You know that it's there. But that's what it reminded me of, that freedom of being able to do whatever. I want to get Baldur's Gate eventually, but that's what it reminded me of.
Have you tried Wasteland 3, like the newest one they had made?
I think I got it on the PlayStation. Yeah, no, it's fun. Don't screw up. Like you say for Baldur's Gate, don't pick the wrong stats or anything.
Yeah.
Because you're just gonna have to work harder at it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
my friend was playing it, and so I was like, "Oh no, how you liked it?"
yeah, it's cool. I like that freedom. Treating your audience like an adult. That's what I like.
Yeah,
Pretty
Like,
much.
yeah, like back in the video games, they're just for kids, and why are you putting this in video games and blah blah blah. But the generations have gotten older, and like I said, it's gaming over 30. So now it's like, yeah, we know people die, have sex, and they all have kind of different kinks to themselves. We can accept that. We know that's going on.
Yeah.
You could put it in the game and let us decide whether we're going to interact with that portion of it or not. So that's why I like Baldur's Gate. That's why I like Divinity, because they treat their audience like, okay, you're not playing the spelling games and those games that we used to have in the old computers. You treat them like, yeah, you know what you're doing. You know what you're saying. You know what you're playing. And if you let your kids play it, well, that's parenting for you. If you, that's up to you.
that's on you.
So,
Yep, for sure.
Yeah. Why is that druid having that with that? Sweetie, we'll wait till you get older. We'll explain this when you're in your 40s. What is that they're doing to that person? That squirrel seems scared. It's okay. It's okay. He just lost his nut. It's all right. It's fine.
So you actually kind of brought up something I wanted to hit on. It's kind of goes with the earlier question I asked everybody. But I know I got a lot of different answers when I asked it, like for some people for interviews. It's like, what is like gaming to you right now? Because after, from starting off, it's from like some of the earlier consoles and stuff to like now, like a lot of stuff has changed. A lot of concepts either they don't exist anymore because we don't really, no one's going to do it anymore, or some new ones came and we're like, okay, this is kind of like this is the world we live in now. But like, how do you feel like with all the changes that gaming has gone through, like how do you see gaming today?
Well, for me, it's still an essence of escape. It's still escaping. Playing Final Fantasy VII originally, and all those hours I put into it was an escape from the reality that I was in. Like it wasn't that what the world around me was bad. It just took me somewhere else. And now where I am now in my life, I mean, we're all older. We have more responsibilities. I have my son, Chris has his kid. Like we all have those responsibilities, but it's still, for me, at the core of it, it's still an ability to go, like picking up a book and reading. I'm not here right now. I'm going to get lost in this world for, an hour or two, where I'm not an adult, where I'm not a responsible person, where I'm just playing a character, like Mass Effect, good or bad. I'm playing a character. I could be a really good guy or I could be a really bad guy, but for that moment, at that time, is to escape everything else. That's what gaming to me, at the core of it, was. From a kid, even now as an adult, it's just being somewhere else.
Yeah, and I mean, to kind of go off of that, I mean, it is an escape as well. I mean, for me, just to kind of get a little bit different of an enjoyment out of life. I mean, everybody's got their own hobbies and stuff, going fishing and stuff like that. But especially right now, because I'm in Texas and I won't go outside right now. It's too hot.
None of us.
I'm like, right now, I'll go fishing in the video game. I don't want to go.
Is it like
doing that in WoW
right
too.
now? Yeah.
Dude, it's been over 100 every day for the past.
Well, right now the sun's setting and it's still.
I think it's still in the 90s probably right now. It's crazy.
Yeah, for us, it's 98.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh no, 102. 102. That's awesome. I love that. No. But gaming to me right now is honestly, I'm kind of going a little bit veering off from my old stuff, which was the DayZ, playing with my friends and everything. I have that stuff because one, I want to play with my friends, but also opponent noobs. I want to go around and I want to make I want to make somebody's day worse sometimes. I want to beat them.
It's a nice thing to do when you have a job where you have to like interact with people, and sometimes those people suck, and so you go and play a game. You're like,
Exactly.
that's that one person I dealt with earlier. Take that.
And I work in retail, so it really works for me. I'm just like,
But that's the catch, right? It's for me, it's more of a healthy escape than finding an escape that's in drugs or being
Yeah.
destructive.
yeah. And right now, I'm kind of moving away from that and going into stuff like Baldur's Gate. And kind of on that same line, I get to live a whole different life and choose all of these crazy stuff and get to see this amazing story kind of unfold in front of you. I mean, it's like being inside of your own movie and getting to make your movie what you want it to be. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I would say gaming for me it's the best form of entertainment you could have at this moment so far. Because a movie is always great, and I still love movies to death, but that's just an experience you're gonna have for a small amount of time. And then if you want to have that experience again, it's just the same thing repeated over and over again. As for when it's gaming, like you play the game, and even for me, I've played Super Metroid so much times. It's my favorite game of all time. And I could still play the game and then just get a different experience because it's like, oh, screw it. Instead of doing this, I'm going to go this way instead. And even though I know it's going to be harder and I might die, it's like, well, at least I'm giving myself a different challenge. Or simple things with like the best part too is like, especially you'll start experiencing this X once your son starts getting older. But when your kids starts getting that age and you can start showing them games, or like they start showing you games back, or you play together, it's like so amazing, dude. Like it blows your absolute mind to just like, especially now that my son's like basically a teenager and he could get to a point. He's like, oh yeah, have you played this game? I was like, no. I was like, he's actually the one who showed me the Arcade Paradise game, and I was the one who showed it to my friends here, and they just took it over. You know what I mean? He played it for like maybe an hour and a half, and the rest of us have been playing it for like 10 to 20 hours. You know what I mean? It just becomes that thing where like I can enjoy myself, I can turn my brain off, and then at the same time I can either have fun or get deep into a really deep story and get so many feelings out of it. You know what I mean? Get some connections with some characters and stuff like that. Unfortunately for my brain, I had a hard time with books because I love to read, but I would just get bored and I would just be like, oh shoot, like put the book down and I'm done with that and move on. As the video games, I got to interact with my hands, I get to interact with my mind. And then once you start getting into multiplayer games like WoW, or for me for a long time it was Destiny, it was like, okay, now I got to solve this puzzle, and I got to solve this puzzle with random people. So now you have to find out how to work together, and sometimes those people suck, but hey, you just make it work, and you end up having the best time of your life. You know what I mean? It's just the best form of entertainment in the entire world to me.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that stuff like movies and TV shows nowadays, they're just not really doing it for me, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm right there with you. I mean, there's very few TV shows that even kind of like that will expand and kind of give you an interesting story and stuff. But most of the time, these movies nowadays, man, I'm just like, and that's gonna happen, and that's gonna happen, and now it's over.
Yeah, cool. But that's the same thing, right? Like you're still getting back to that connection. Like you have that with your son now. I'm gonna have that with X when he gets older. It's just you have that connect. You know, Cameron, you have that with your friends. I still have that with my friends now. It's still having that connection with other people. Even though you're escaping from it and going to your video game, you're still going to have that connection eventually with your friends or with us, our sons. Like, I'm waiting for X to come in and be like, you ain't nothing dead. Watch this. And he beats me at Dragon Ball Z. Like, when did you step your game up, man? I used to change your diapers. Like, how are you going to do this to me? Like, but it's an escape and still having that connections with friends, something to bond with.
I just like the idea of he comes in tears like, Dad, I think it's time for you to retire. Just go on.
You know,
He's like, he literally ejects the game out of your console like,
When my man's sitting on my lap and controlling the Google Home, like he knows how to Chromecast it to the living room. He's 2 years old. He's watched me do that 2 or 3 times, and now he does that on himself with the Google Home. So it's one of those things where, yeah, I don't put it past them. Your teenager's gonna come back and be like, yeah, I'm gonna school you on this. X is gonna come back in those games. It's gonna be like, yeah, Dad, I'm gonna school you on this.
Like the one game I won't challenge my kid at is either Fortnite or Call of Duty, because I know he'll whoop me on those.
Yeah.
It's like, nah, I'm out. If I'm playing, we're playing duos or something, we're working together.
Yeah, like my hand-eye coordination is slowly going. Let me go get my glasses. Let me try to knock it out with you, man. But yeah, I mean, I am looking forward to that, man. I am looking forward to this. What about you, D?
I have an interesting relationship with it because the stuff that I really like, I kind of wish a lot of times it kind of grew up with me. Like I realize a lot, like games like Pokemon, for instance. Me and Chris talked about it before, and it's one of those things where it's like it has gone through generations for different people, but they're still trying to focus on like the people who are coming now. So they do a lot of stuff that feel like it's more hand-holding to people coming in than like people who are like, oh, I really wish this game would evolve, right? Like I really wish like we could do more with it. Kind of like Final Fantasy 16. Like they finally just weren't afraid to say, you know what, turn-based RPG, good as it was, I don't think we could tell this story in that same way. And so we have to change up the flow. We even have to change up you being able to use other characters and stuff. But we found a way for the main character to have a crazy about and punch of powers. And hey, it might look like Devil May Cry and, you know, Devil May Cry with the Game of Thrones story, but we're going to make this really boss. And I really did enjoy that game. And I kind of look at like some other games that I used to play. It was like, man, like I kind of wish like all those games either were remade in those same kind of aspects or just allow me to explore than all the games that I normally wouldn't even touch. Like Starfield, just a game that probably even 3 years ago, I probably wouldn't even consider it. Because I'm not a big Fallout guy. Like there's a lot of the Fallout stuff that I kind of don't really like as much. But I'm like, man, like space, being able to do all this other stuff, I actually think I'm kind of getting into it. Souls games, like it's just one of those things where it's like I was one of those people like it don't need to be this hard. Like it need, like you don't want to go, you know, go something that's like escapism, and then like your escapism is just being punished in the game. Like you don't really want to like do that kind of, you know, that circle jerk of like just suffering. But then like I was playing Lies of P, and I was like, you know what, like I do hate this game, but I hate the fact that it thinks I can't beat it. And I'm not having that. I'm at least gonna beat the demo, right? You know, like I'm not gonna go and play this game and be like, nah, like I couldn't even beat the demo. You know, screw that. But it was just like, oh, you know, this is a nice concept. But then when I got to sit down, I realized a lot of stuff about the game. It was voice act. It has a pretty understanding of its own mechanics. A lot of the game looks very good. There's just like a lot of stuff that's like a lot of newer stuff that's coming out that's it's being very impressive in both its gameplay and its stuff. And now I feel like this is kind of where I'm actually growing up. Like I'm actually going and playing different games and stuff because unfortunately some of the games I used to play are not coming along with me. And when they're trying, they're not really putting their effort. Like unlike us, when we turn 18, like, hey, no, you gotta pay taxes. Hey, no, you need to go figure out how to vote. Hey, no, you gotta like that's not happening with gaming. Like, hey, you need to, you know, learn how, you know, the X button works properly, or you need to know how double jump works properly. We're tired of y'all trying to figure it out still. You know, there's just stuff like that. And so like gaming to me has evolved. It has evolved in a way to where now other people who wouldn't have played the games that we played are now playing a lot of these other games that are coming out. I work with a lot of women that are now gamers that are doing a lot of stuff or playing a lot of games. They're sharing their experiences. They're, you know, telling me, hey, like I played this. What do you think? Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, that's definitely is something new. But I just feel that like it's now hitting a broader audience the same way like most people do when they get older and they're like, hey, you know what? I have the freedom to do a little bit more stuff. Maybe it might cost some money, but I didn't regret that I had to pay for it. Like when you first go on your trip with just like you and the homies or you and your significant other without like your parents or family or like people over there that like you had to make sure if it was like, we're going to go experience this thing I probably went to before, but it feels vastly different. And I got to go to other places. I wasn't restricted with anything. And that's kind of how I feel like about gaming right now. It's like I'm having to grow my taste as well as what I want to do, especially if I still want to enjoy gaming today and stuff like that. Like I can buy the next console and stuff and play like the next high graphical thing and got this computer to do more stuff. But it really is like a lot of times it's the content. Like you have to go find new content to play and stuff. Even if I don't even need anything highly like action impact. Like last year, I played some games that were mainly storytelling. Now I'm telling other people to go play because it's like those 5 hours that I got to play with it were really golden 5 hours that I got to enjoy. And it was like, hey, I beat it, blah, blah, blah. So that's kind of how I am right now. It's just I'm starting to now get into other stuff. Though the only thing I wish I didn't really get into is gacha gaming because Jesus Christ, if there's something that was going to steal your money, it's definitely getting too involved into a gacha game for sure. Like I already kind of escaped League a little bit, be like, no, I want to buy skins no more and all that. And then there's like, yeah, but what about this character?
And then there's me who's sunken all the way down.
It's like, no, camera, please.
Dude, it's too late. I spent like $160 the other day on some skins.
You can't do it, man. I jumped back into League, and the only reason I got all the characters is because I was getting so much free essence that I could just buy with the blue essence thing. I'm only like missing 2 champions from League because of that.
You don't have Game Pass?
For League of Legends?
Well, do you have a Game Pass account at all, like Ultimate?
No.
Because it unlocks all the characters.
Nope.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah, you like if you do it, you unlock all the characters.
Nope.
For League of Legends.
Nope.
Just grind it.
I like how you're saying no.
Nope.
See, X is over here doing it in the League of Legends, just getting himself beat up and hurt the entire time. You're over here doing it in Lies of P.
Yeah, all
I play is ARAM in that game. That's all I play. It's just ARAM. That's it. Getting all the essence from that and Amazon Prime content that comes out for it. And if I do spend anything on League, it's like $20. And I'm all like, I'll wait till the character gets on sale. Then I'm gonna get it.
Heck yeah.
I'm cheap with it, man. I gotta think of X. He needs a college fund. I am.
That's supposed to already be taken out of your paycheck. Everything else, or
Should once again.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're coming down to the end, so I do have just that last question to kind of ask everybody. Just to kind of, I thought it'd be interesting to kind of end it on here and stuff like that. You already kind of gave me some very philosophical questions and stuff to kind of grind on. But for now, at the end of all this, what is a game that you won't play again, but not because it's bad, but it's good, so good that you can't do it anymore? Like I will not go back to experience it because I don't think you can.
I think for me, it's Ocarina of Time. Like, I played that game so much on the 64 over and over again, and like I adored it to the point where when it came out for like the 3DS kind of re-release and stuff like that, I borrowed it from a friend so I could start playing it, and I went, you know what? No, I got to put this down because it's feeling old to me, and I do not want to have that feeling with this game because it just never felt that way to me ever. And even that they put it on like the NSO and stuff like that, I told my son about it, and he started to dabble in it. He's like, you should play it. And I was like, no, I can't do it. I can't do it. Like, if I do it, it just starts to feel old to me, and it doesn't feel as good. And I just go, like, it starts irking me a little bit. I cursed myself with getting a gaming PC and realizing having better frames per second does so much for gaming that when it's not there on some stuff, I just can't do it anymore. And Ocarina of Time is one of those ones where I just go, maybe I should just like don't hear this Nintendo, but like get an emulator and get a mod for like some 60 frames per second thing or something to play it, so it feels good to me.
Not endorsing. Not endorsing.
We do not endorse piracy up in this. We're all naval captains. We do not.
Just to kind of not steal Chris's answer, but thanks for stealing my Chris answer. My answer, Chris. But no, it would actually wouldn't be Ocarina. It would actually be a Majora's Mask. You guys might not pirate, but you know, I used one a while back to replay Ocarina, but I realize now I never went back and played Majora, and I'm kind of like realizing honestly, like right now in this moment, why is just for the pure fact of how aggravating Majora's Mask really was.
Yeah.
Oh, it's nighttime. Great. Let me reset the day. Oh, it's nighttime again. Let me go reset. Hold on. And like, oh my gosh, that was the one thing that just drove me absolutely nuts with that game. Like, it was so phenomenal. I enjoyed every second of it. But that's the one reason I think that I just will not go back and play that game. It just drove me absolutely insane with resetting the day.
Yeah.
I actually know both are a little pretty good answers. What about you, Alex?
I think for me it would be the original Final Fantasy VII. It was 4 disc, right? It was 4 disc.
Yeah.
So it was. I still have it actually. It'd be Final Fantasy VII just because I forgot what age I was when I played it, and I played it all the way through, and I enjoyed the hell out of it. I think it was over 100 hours, and it's one of those games that I think really, how can I put it? It made me want to do writing. Like it made me want to go into programming because I wanted to develop a game that was like that, and writing because I wanted to deliver on a story that hit me. Like I've never played a game where you flat out see the main character get shanked in the middle of the story, and they're like, "Oh no, she's gone. You will have to pick somebody else." Oh, spoiler for anybody that hasn't played the original. She gets shanked.
And even
Thanks. And she's gone, and that's it. And I think I was a kid or a teenager at the time, and I saw that, and I was like, so how do I select her again? Like, it took me a while to figure out that no, she's dead. You're not getting her back.
She's not Dragon Ball dead.
Yeah, and you could use a Game Shark to like keep her in your party as a ghost. It was nuts, but that's a game that like stuck to me because of that moment in game. If it didn't have that moment, it would have just been another game with another story in it. But me being a kid, seeing that in that game, seeing one of my main characters die, and me just, Cloud just standing there like, like that's it. That's the whole takeaway from it. And yeah, I'd love to play it again. And yeah, I think the only way I would play through that game again is with X. I don't want him to hit that new level of maturity where I have to explain, no, she's gone. But at least I want to be able to say, at least somebody's there. Like, I'm there for him to explain, okay, now that you got that sense of what's going on, I can explain the greater themes of what's happening. Because I didn't get anybody. It took me, nobody else was playing that game around me. My pops wasn't going to sit down and watch me play it or explain what happened. I just had to figure that all out by myself. And to go through it on my own again, no, I love the experience, but the only way I'm going to do that again is if I do it with my king. But now, on my own, no way. I'm out.
I can understand that because like Final Fantasy VII had, I guess it's not really appreciated nowadays, but like when I actually went back to look at, I think like 7, 8 stories, because like 8 I was just like, oh, like I kind of like summed it down to just kind of be like, well, guy gets to grow at the end, whatever, he just has to defeat God to do it. But it is one of those things where it's like when I actually kind of like have the story kind of gone through explained, I was like, God, there's so many different elements happening in this game. And then 7 was kind of like that too, just like of all the different stuff, like that's actually happening with, especially with the main character and stuff.
Yeah,
But-
because he doesn't get the girl at the end. He doesn't hook up with Tifa at the end either way. She wants him the whole time. He still doesn't get her at the end because he wanted the other chick.
So,
Oh, they made a movie, Advent Children.
yeah, we saw the end part of that.
Yeah, so it's like that. It's not a bow tie ending. That's what's the thing about the maturity of getting older. It's not a bow tie. Not all of them have to be, here's your happy ending, you get the girl at the end. He does it.
I actually prefer that in a lot of video games, honestly, of like, I don't want everything to just be the happy ending. Let me have some, like, holy crap, did that really just happen? Or, I mean, even like, what was the one back in the day that threw me off? It was Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. The end of that game, that threw me for such a loop that, like, it was just like, I need to know who's dead and who's not and everything. And it's like, no, you can wait. Like, great. Thank you.
And that's what I like about the medium changing to fit like it used to be, to treat us like adults. It's not all black and white. You're not going to always get the happy ending. You're not always going to get the druid. You're not always going to get, what you want out of it. It's just how you deal with it. And for me as a kid, was finishing that damn game.
Hey, I will get that druid. I will get that druid.
And I guess it's kind of funny that we used to play games back then that had a lot of adult themes, and then
Oh, yeah.
now we're trying to find like those same adult themes, and it's all like, nah, like it's
They're
like play Fortnite. It's like play Fall Guys.
But that's the good thing about Baldur's Gate. The success of Baldur's Gate is they're bringing that stuff back. I miss one-player games. I miss being able to pause and walk away. They're bringing that stuff back,
Mhm.
and they've got to take the risk on it. That's why I'll support Baldur's Gate. I'll support Final Fantasy 16, even though the numbers, according to them, didn't do so well. I'll support those games because it's a single player, and you guys put a lot of resources into it. But I appreciate it, developer side and the company putting it out.
There are definitely some games I do buy support for that it's just like they just need that extra. Because you want to send a message like, yeah, I'm gonna vote with my wallet this time around.
Exactly.
I don't know if you guys are familiar, but the one that I want to right now is Dark and Darker. And it's again, it's supposed to be Dungeons and Dragons, but instead it's a first person like dungeon crawl basically. So you get, I want to say like 10 people, and you can have 3 or probably about 20 people, and you can have 3 in a group. And these 20 people get dropped into a dungeon at different spots in the dungeon, and you run around and loot until you can get out. Or you kill each other. One of the two.
Like how we all had to go look that up. It was like,
Yeah.
Oh, no. Feel free to. Please do, because it is very much a game that is going through a lot right now that is going, I think that it is actually going to be pretty big. They actually just got done with a lawsuit because of some stuff that they had, like some code that they had in their game. Somebody was saying was stolen, but they won the lawsuit. And so they just came out with their new playtest. Yes, they just came out with their new playtest yesterday. Yeah, I think it was yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. And just a little bit of a funny story. My buddy at work, he is constantly talking about this game. He loves this game, more than anything. And he's following the lawsuit and everything and all of that. And he comes in yesterday, and I'm not even facing him. I'm looking at the computer, just sitting there typing. And he comes up behind me and he goes, "Before you ask, yes, I'm pissed." And if you want to know why, Dark and Darker's out, and I don't have a PC right now to play it. So it was really funny for him to walk up and say that and everything to me. And it's a pretty sweet game, and honestly, I can't wait to kind of jump back into it and see if it's any good. or if they've done anything to it, upgrade since their last playtest. But right now, it's not even out, so I think that's a good upcomer.
Well, you might be in luck. The story I found says Dark and Darker launches today, just not on Steam.
Well, no, it's launching, but it's a playtest.
No. Okay. Hey, D, you still haven't answered the which game you want to play again, or did you?
Yeah, well, I mean, we can have some good conversation, so that was just one of the things where I was like, I kind of wanted to make sure we got to go into it. My game isn't really like old like feels. Like I think all three of you picked like something I probably would have picked. Except I played all of them like again, so it's like, oh, that kind of disqualifies them already. Especially Ocarina of Time, because I think it's different with that one, because it's like, well, it's like the difference now is like the water temple isn't like beating me up as it did back then, where it's just like, I guess my brain grew a little bit so I can remember where I actually went to before. It's like, oh, okay, no, I was, this is the third level. I've really been here like 3 times already. The game that I really can't play a game again is actually The Last of Us. Like, it's one of those games where I really did enjoy the first Last of Us when it came out, and I was just like, man, this game is different. Like, there's a lot about going with it, a lot of the story, a lot of the elements, what it got you involved in. Like, you were playing the action rather than kind of just watching it. It was just like, oh, there's just a lot of stuff. Like, you felt tension. You felt, when Ellie was being kind of like kidnapped and she had to go fight for herself. Like, you felt a lot of that. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm not going to feel that again. I already know what happens. I've seen it. I'm glad they made the TV show for it because it allowed me to experience it in a different media. But there's no way, even with the graphical update, that I could experience the story again. Like, it's just, at this point, I'd just be playing for credits. And I don't see a point in it. I normally don't play, like, I'm not a new game plus kind of person to begin with. So playing another game, it's like, yeah, it's just the same. It just looks better. It's like, well, I already know what happens. It's already made me feel a certain way. And normally, like, you're not going to get that feeling again. Like, I won't get the same feeling I had with Pokemon Red and Blue when I first played that game. Like, unfortunately, it's gone. And so it's like one of those games where it's like, I really did enjoy it. I was even mad at me win Game of the Year that year because I was all like, oh, this bullshit. Like, that game was good. But it's just one of the games, like, I just couldn't touch it again. Like, it's just, I won't experience it with the same feelings. No, even if it was better, even if they added like dubstep gun or whatever, like, it's just one of those things where it's like you couldn't, it's a game so heavily on how it makes you feel rather than like its gameplay or anything like that, that you couldn't just do it again. And so it's like one of those games and like, it's kind of like goes with the second one as well, because like second one is like, once you already know at the very beginning that, oh, there goes Joel, it's like, oh, you can only be mad once, really. Like, it could probably make you a little steam, but it's like that shock factor, like, it is gone. Same thing with like Aerith, like, dying. It's all like, oh, well, look, I know she's gonna die, so maybe I won't invest so much into him. You can't really do that for Last of Us. Like, he's a character. You gotta play the character. And so, like, a lot of the crazy stuff that happens in that game is like, oh, I kind of know it. Like, you can't pick like a different storyline. You can't go left instead of right this time. Like, you're going to experience it the way that they intended you to experience it. So it can only be.
It's kind of like a movie game if you think about it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you're gonna get the same effect at the end of it.
Well, it's like that's why like the one of the latest updates they did for 2 was, oh, you have to play the game, but you can't die. You die, that's it. You restart from the beginning.
Permadeath.
Yeah, like and that's like, well, that makes sense because like, what else could you really do? Like, again, outside, it's like, well, let's play multiplayer. It's like, yeah, but it's just at that point, it's just a third-person shooter that it's not multiplayer like thought first. And how good can that be when if people are playing other third-person shooters already? Like, it's just like there's no point in that. And so it's like it's just one of those games where it's all like, I had my experience. This meal was good. I have to eat something else because this is on to the next thing. I can never go back.
That's honestly a really good answer. I mean, I know for me that Last of Us was a very, very intense game and very emotional. Like they did really good at conveying all of the stuff that they wanted to. I actually I don't know how I did this, and I still don't. I don't remember or anything. I didn't get a chance to play Last of Us when Last of Us came out, and it took me like I didn't get to play it until I think like 5, maybe 3 years after it came out, and I managed no spoilers at all. No social media. I didn't allow YouTube to pop up anything. I didn't allow anything to pop up anywhere. And if it did, it was gone. Like, no, go.
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah.
Gone, Clip.
I don't know how I managed to do it, but I'm so thankful that I did, because that is one of the games that it really just, it kind of sits with you, and I agree with you. I don't think I'd ever go back and play that game.
I still haven't finished the game. I started playing it, and years later, I still haven't been able to finish the first one.
Thank God.
I get that. I haven't.
I know you haven't, Chris. I've been like judging you the whole time.
It's because I made a video at the beginning of the game, and I started playing it, and that's the first video I ever uploaded, was the beginning of the game, and then I never finished it. But it I need to, but it hits hard. Like there's games that are emotionally tied to you that hit hard, and from everything I've seen, that is one of them. And now I got my son, so even though like I know what happens in the first couple minutes, I got to be like, what if that was X? You know.
Oh, dude,
Oh,
it hits
man.
bad,
It
dude.
made me cry.
It's
and I
bad.
just have kids. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you have a kid, dude, it hits like even worse. Like, cause I remember playing through the secrets before, like, you know what I mean? I was playing the secrets. I was like, all right, whatever. And then playing again, I like being more tied to my kids. I was like, oh no. And like watching the show, like, I remember I was watching the first episode like with my girlfriend, and I was just like, she like noticed I was getting nervous. She's like, what's wrong? I was like, I just know what's coming up, and I don't know how I'm gonna take it in a show form, and sure enough, I was fucking crying and everything. And she's like, "You okay?" I'm like, "Yeah." It's like my stupid kid. Love him so much.
The show hit on that way harder. I felt because they made you actually try to get invested with that girl. Like, oh,
Yeah.
now you know her, and you're like, oh, I know.
Oh, they took their time on that too.
They were smart.
And that's why I haven't watched the show either, just because I want to finish the game someday.
Okay, see, that's just criminal now. Like,
Hey man, that's the one thing you know. Once you get older, until you retire, time is your rarest commodity as you're getting older. So I mean,
time is a very expensive currency.
no.
No.
But that was all the answers. Hopefully that was a great question to kind of end off, and hopefully everybody y'all enjoyed it. With that, thank y'all, X, Cameron, for kind of joining the team, kind of jumping in. We'll have some more talks like that, and if you kind of also like the new format too, we're all trying to bring something to the table easy. Let us know. Hit it in the comments below, and if you need more content, don't worry, we still got everything up on Spotify. We got everything up on Apple Podcasts. And trust me, there is a lot more stuff on YouTube that we can definitely now show you. But I do appreciate y'all for watching this video, and we'll see you next time. Everybody, you take care.
Laters.
Latest.